Now to that most bizarre attack tonight in Midtown Manhattan, and after it was over, the attacker stomping on the car in a kind of out-of-control victory dance.
A smashed windshield, an injured man, and rattled nerves in Manhattan. Tonight, police are searching for the cyclist accused of attacking a driver in the middle of traffic.
And let me tell you what happened here. You have to see to believe. Police say the man climbing on top of this car and screaming triumphantly is wanted for a bizarre and terrifying act of violence.
It's crazy. I mean, this is ludicrous. This is absolutely strange.
It happened in the area of 40th Street and 5th Avenue on Friday at 1:30 p.m. A bizarre display, the suspect seems to celebrate with a victory pose before calmly walking off the roof and hood of the car and pedaling away on a black and green bicycle. He has yet to be caught.
Police telling me this morning this was totally unprovoked. They don't know what actually set this man off.
What have you been using today? You're on the dust.
They ask that question every day. In Stoke-on-Trent, they're dealing with the fallout of a synthetic drug that you may not have heard of. Monkey dust makes it sound like a joke, but up close, it's pretty ugly. The man on top of the building was on it. Moments later, he landed on a car and was then straight up grappling with the police.
When we are trying to restrain him, it could be like almost like trying to restrain the Incredible Hulk. The strength is unbelievable.
The police can't explain why it's so concentrated around North Staffordshire, but this summer it's reaching crisis point.
Americans aren't very happy. That's according to a new report by the United Nations on the state of global happiness.
The United States ranks 19th on the list.
The World Happiness Report was released this week. The U.S. has dropped to 19th on the list of happiest countries in the world, and the authors point to various forms of addiction as a reason why.
I think that we are dealing with great levels of anxiety in the country, so it's really not surprising that we see increased substance misuse.
Just from where we're sitting right now, if you go 4 blocks that way, 4 blocks that way, in any direction, you would see, I call it the land of the living dead, because it was like zombies. I say we're in a war, and we are. It's a war against an unseen enemy. You can't see it. Fentanyl is about the worst I've seen so far. I've seen more deaths in the last 2 years than I've seen in my entire life.
And so we are seeing falling happiness over time, even though wealth is going up a lot. We're actually seeing more suicides, lower life expectancy, more drug addictions, more addictions to behaviors. If you have big substance abuse epidemics that nobody cares about really, if all of the wonders of technology are just to get people to look at their screens more so that Facebook can make more money on advertising. So that's what this is about. And so far our society, our government doesn't do anything about it. It's only about making money or winning power.
I'm on the road that skirts around Porte de la Chapelle in the north of Paris, and as you can see, the slum that's emerged here is brimming with rubbish. A little further up the road, it's not long before we come across people who appear to be smoking crack in broad daylight. Others are showing signs of being high, often known as the poor man's drug.
I've seen people come here, and after 6 months, they look like the walking dead. They've lost 15 kilos. It's really hell for everyone.
Al-Shisha Najim has lived here for 12 years. He says that while Porte de la Chapelle has had a history of drug problems, it's now spiralled out of control. So far, those cries have not been heeded by the government nor the local authorities. And for now, the people who live in Porte de la Chapelle and its surrounding areas remain in fear as the crack addiction continues to explode.
We have a crisis in overdose deaths in Philadelphia now. It's been rising for a number of years, and was at its worst in 2017 when we had more than 1,200 overdose deaths. 90% of those involved opioids.
Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid, similar to heroin, but it's up to 50 times stronger. Fast-acting, cheap, and highly addictive. It takes so little fentanyl to get people addicted that traffickers, many from China, have been sending it to the US in envelopes via postal services. Doctors have been using it to treat severe pain, and now drug dealers sell it pure or blended into other drugs like meth and cocaine to boost their potency.
We have a very large number of people who are dependent on opioids now, predominantly because they started with prescription painkillers. So people who were at one time taking OxyContin may have switched to injectable heroin, and now they're injecting a combination of heroin and fentanyl. That makes them more likely to stay addicted.
A few salt-sized grains of fentanyl are enough to kill most people. When they do overdose, the lucky ones end up at places like Stroger Hospital in Chicago, but many don't make it at all.
In terms of the sheer volume, it's really the biggest. We've had the rate of rise of fatalities in Cook County has just stepped up. In 2015, we had about 665 fatalities. The next year, we had 1,100. And for the past year, we're collecting the statistics on. It looks like it'll be at least at that level, maybe a little bit higher.
U.S. police say the strength of fentanyl they're recovering from black market drug dealers is more powerful than ever, meaning its victims could in time be counted in the millions.
Not every patient turns violent, but those that do can be a nightmare.
Whereas previously we've seen drugs of recreation, we're increasingly seeing this as a drug of abuse. It's a fairly new agent, and we've seen massively increased use. Although we don't collect the data anecdotally, we know we're dealing with a huge increase in numbers.
It's reached the point where paramedics are now considering whether they need body armour.
I had an instance where I went to two of them who were on monkey dust, and they were running in and out of the traffic. So not only are they a danger to themselves, they are a danger to the public. It is like an epidemic, and something does need to be done.
I have a $17,000 pair of Gucci crocodile boots.
Jackie Siegel, the so-called Queen of Versailles, and her timeshare tycoon husband are reportedly worth roughly $900 million. A 2012 documentary followed their audacious plan to build the largest mansion in America for their 8 kids and menagerie of animals. Personal Palace is still not finished, but that setback is nothing compared to the heartache they've faced since. Her parents describe Victoria as a free-spirited hippie living in a gleaming mansion, trying to fit in.
That was kind of the beginning of the end for Victoria.
Why?
The movie embarrassed her. She was kind of on the chubby side at the time. Kids make fun of her, because she came from a family of wealth, and she got teased about it. Then she started going on crash diets.
We never thought in a million years that she would be doing drugs.
Their naivete mirroring so many parents, oblivious to the grips of the opioid epidemic that claimed more than 70,000 lives in 2017 alone.
I thought drug addicts lived under bridges and slept on park benches. I had no idea that the more affluent the family is, the more chance you have of having a drug user in your family.
But if the focus is only on wealth, not on the social ties, on the balance in society, on the moderation of lifestyles, of the honesty of government, of care for each other, and of human values, societies and the people in them I'm talking about will suffer. Now, most governments, I don't think, have cared very much about this issue in general, because politics became a game of power in most places in the world, and daily life became a game of making more money or struggling to survive. So we're living in a time where social ties are not so easy to protect and to maintain in general. There are a lot of lessons in here you're going to hear, but the first lesson is pay attention. The quality of life matters. Life is not a game. Politics is not just about power, or shouldn't be.
Kensington has always been a hard neighborhood. There's been drugs, violence through here for pretty much forever since the establishment of the neighborhood. But in the last 10 years or so, when the fentanyl hit the street and the heroin really started getting big again, the violence had escalated. Every Sunday, spaghetti and meatballs. Yeah, so I'm angry. I'm angry at the government.
I just got that.
They're not looking at you. They're not looking at me. They're looking at numbers, statistics. Well, that girl out there, that boy out there, he's not a statistic. It's a human being. He deserves a chance. It's a social problem, not a pharmaceutical problem. Why are they here? What is causing them to come out? What is causing them to get onto the drugs? And start treating that. If you start dealing with that there, you probably have a whole lot more people not doing drugs.